The following show won the Hometown Media Award 2021.
The hometown goes to Gilda Miros from Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
And we continue to dream and work.
And is written and directed by Zan Hall. Stage and said, "Theater is my religion, my life."
Bill Galarno passed over 1 week after we finished recording.
It could be another reason why you called me in.
And what would that be?
Hi. Do you remember the shows I did on the Punch Bowl Bump Off by Zan Hall for the Actors Fund? Remember that? We did a show on the rehearsal of the scripted podcast.
So I became their household butler.
Very good, Harrison.
Huh?
Well, he was my daddy.
What kind of work do you do in the business?
Well, I manage both foreign and domestic distribution of our toys. You know, I also developed an article of merchandise from time to time. Dimples, the Shirley Temple movie star doll, that was my idea.
Was that your brainstorm? Got my sister's kid one for her birthday. I like the way she tap dances and says
Nasty my father to his face while trying to sabotage his business and caught his wife.
This investigation is turning into a sequel of Mary Noble Backstage.
We also did a show on the recording of the scripted podcast.
Okay, you ready?
Uh-huh.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Van Rich. Why is it so dark in here? Perhaps you two gentlemen would like a little privacy.
No, that's all right, Jeffrey. This man was just delivering the laundry.
Is that what they call it now? Oh, you are from the laundry. Those must be the newly cleaned linens.
like Fred and Ginger. Like Fred and Ginger.
Funny how you and stupid go together, Flanagan, like Charlie and McCarthy.
That's one, dummy.
Hey, you talk nice, or maybe you won't be talking at all.
All I meant was Charlie McCarthy is the dummy's name.
He's right, Al. Charlie McCarthy is the name of Edgar Bergen's dummy. You should have said...
That's one, dummy.
Hey, you talk nice, or maybe you won't be talking at all.
All I meant was Charlie McCarthy is the dummy's name.
He's right, Al. Charlie McCarthy is the name of Edgar Bergen's dummy. You should have said, funny how you and stupid go together like Charlie and Edgar.
Okay, sorry about jumping to conclusions. I heard you was here investigating some Mulligan's murder.
So, what's your rap, Frisco? Where were you during the murder?
Oh, Slatsy. You know I ain't the kind to kiss and tell.
Now we are going to witness a very special moment. A Zoom meeting with the Actors Fund Director and our group getting ready to hear the official and completed scripted podcast. Tuesdays at 2, using Zoom, we are going to enjoy a chat with TRACI DIGESU, the Actors Fund, and it's about to start. So let me just click into the link, and we'll be in there.
And we have Kevin Payne on the phone.
Hi, Courtney.
So it's going to be from 4 to 5:30. We're going to have an intro and listen to the podcast, and then we'll have a Q&A after. So I'm going to say, for folks, please try to join promptly at 4. We're going to give it a couple of minutes before we get it going, but make sure you have your your beverage and your popcorn handy, and that you are you're comfortable to sit and listen to something really fantastic for an hour. It sounds wonderful, and I think you'll all really enjoy it. And for the folks who participated, I think it'll be a lot of fun to hear yourselves, and it'll be a really great time. So you'll be getting an invitation from me. For the folks on the phone, I'll double back around and make sure you have the phone number. I also just want to say to everybody, for the Punch Bowl Bump Off, you absolutely don't have to do it on your computer. It's all listening. It's all listening. So if you're more comfortable, you can also just call up on your phone, put your phone. I'm going to have everybody muted so you can listen, and you'll be muted almost for the entire of our time together, so that you're listening on your end, and then I'll unmute when it's over and we'll talk about it. So just to put it out there. So again, you can call in and the sound quality will be good. And we're going to run the audio through the Zoom, which should give a nice crystal quality to those of you. So this time around, it will come through the audio will come through the computer. The computer will not be operating on Wi-Fi. It will be hardwired. So again, it should be nice and clean, and everybody should be able to hear. So that's my announcement about Thursday. I'm going to unmute everybody.
So the day came, and we are going to finally hear the finished production of the Punch Bowl Bump Off. Let's listen in.
The Center Stage Players podcast is a collective of performing artists 65 and older who are members of the WALDMAN Living Room, a program of the Actors Fund. The Punch Bowl Bump Off is produced by the WALDMAN Living Room, co-produced by Gilda Miros, and is written and directed by Zan Hall. It was recorded at Funkadelic Studios in New York City. The Punch Bowl Bump Off is dedicated to the memory of Bill Galarno, who referred to himself as a trooper, which he was, seeing this recording through to completion while in painfully ill health. He also thought of himself as a migrant worker who has had a varied and extensive performance career as actor, director, and playwright in various mediums. He especially loved the stage and said, "Theater is my religion, my life." And now, the Punch Bowl Bump Off.
Well, we cannot share with you the total podcast yet because it has not been officially launched. But let's just show a couple of little clips.
The drawing room.
It's about noon.
Mr. Flanagan.
Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Excuse, please. I come to clean.
I say, can't you do that somewhere else? I'm making a phone call. Excuse me! Can't you do that some other time? I want to be alone.
Oh, yes, room very dirty. Katrina clean, you bet.
Oh, never mind. I'm leaving. I need a drink.
The other had to have, only bigger and better. For instance, one time Mr. Van Rich bought a private plane. The very next day, Mr. Rittenhouse went out and bought his own commercial airline company. They were sort of friendly rivals, you might say.
There's no such thing as a friendly rival. It's an oxymoron.
I resent such a bodacious remark.
No, I meant...
Sir, you are no gentleman.
That means the two don't go together.
Ain't that a shame?
You're hiding something, Cupcake. I can vacationing in Romania right now.
Ain't that a shame?
You're hiding something, Cupcake. I can smell it as strong as a zoo. There could be another reason why you called me in.
And what would that be?
Maybe to throw the heat off yourself.
You have quite a reputation.
I try to play it on the Q&T.
I meant about your sleuthing abilities.
Oh, well, that too. But there's something I don't get. Why call me in on a case that the cops have picked cleaner than a tourist by Saraba street merchants? Surely I'm just walking in tracks they already investigated.
Because you're the best in the business. Our friends the Mellons, they rave over the way you recovered a stolen diamond tiara. It was taken from their wall safe during a social gathering.
Oh, yeah. I called it the case of the flatulent fraud. Rumor has it that you and the late mister didn't have the idyllic marriage that your press agent was feeding to the newshounds for their rags. Calling in a PI is like offering a reward for the murderer's capture. Throws people off the scent.
I've met some tough eggs in my days, Mr. Flanagan. But you're 20 minutes. Oh, thank you, Harrison. Put the liquor cart over there.
Lot of high-class brands here. Name your poison.
Martini, very dry, served in a Waterford glass, with a twist of lemon, a touch of vermouth.
Let me ask you, how did you get along with the late Mr. Van Rich?
Get along?
Yeah. Did you like him?
He was my employer.
That isn't what I asked.
You're listening to the Punch Bowl Bump Off scripted podcast, soon to be released.
If you're looking for the nut dish, it's on the coffee table.
Oh, I didn't hear you come in.
Obviously.
Nice, cozy layout you got here, like the Taj Mahal. You're a nice slice of cheesecake.
Thank you for the food comparison. You'll have to excuse me, I'm a bit wet after my game.
Who won?
I did, naturally.
Luella knows how many blades of grass there are on our front lawn.
10,173. Where's my van?
And now music. That's going to be a music.
Tell you, you've got a walk that could melt the polar ice caps.
Do you always make passes at grieving widows, Mr. Flanagan?
No, you just look great in black shorts, baby.
I thought black appropriate under the circumstances. You have quite a reputation.
I try to play it on the Q&T.
I meant about your sleuthing abilities.
Oh, well, that too. But there's something I don't get. Why call me in on a case that the cops have picked cleaner than a tourist by Saraba street merchants? Surely I'm just walking in tracks they already investigated.
Because you're the best in the business. Absolutely brilliant.
But there could be another reason why you called me in.
And what would that be?
Maybe to throw the heat off yourself. Rumor has it that you and the late mister didn't have the idyllic marriage that your press agent was feeding to the newshounds for their rags. Calling in a PI is like offering a reward for the murderer's capture. Throws people off the scent.
I've met some tough eggs in my days, Mr. Flanagan. But you're 20 minutes. Oh, thank you, Harrison. Put the liquor cart over there. I hope you don't dwell on cliches as your initial point of investigation, Mr. Flanagan. Saying the wife did it is just one ridiculous step away from saying the butler did it. Thank you, Harrison. You may resume your duties.
Very good, madam.
Well, commiserating again, Luella?
Only the tears you can't find in yourself to shed.
I'm parched. I think I'd like a bit of the bubbly, too. I see grieving hasn't weakened your tennis volley, Mother. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Richard Van Rich, Simoleon Van Rich's estranged son.
I'm Slats Flanagan, B.I. Your stepmother called me in.
Covering all the angles, Luella.
Since the police made no headway, I thought a private investigator would be helpful to the situation.
Situation? That's putting the hell we've been going through on an acceptable parlance.
I should think you'd want to find your father's murderer.
Oh, I do have my suspicions about it.
As do I.
Look, if I wanted to watch a sparring match, I'd go down to Kelsey's gym. Right now, I've got a murder to solve and a pocket full of nothing to solve it with, so I need cooperation from both of you. Where were you when your father was murdered?
She left the troupe when the hand puppets kept fondling her crotch. She later moonlighted as a cocktail waitress at a high-class restaurant where my father frequently dined. One night, she accidentally spilled a drink on him, and, well, as Napoleon said at Waterloo, the rest is history. They were married in a quiet little ceremony in Vegas a week later.
A whirlwind romance.
Profitable is the word I would use.
I take it you believe she was after his money.
What do you think? I also keep tabs on all our items manufactured in the Far East.
You speak Chinese?
Dangram. Well, that means, of course. I also collect Chinese art treasures. There's quite a lot being traded now because of the recent political upheavals.
And you decided to cash in on it.
Bargain for is what I prefer to call it. You see this little bauble here on the settee? It's from the Song Dynasty.
Let me see. Must have cost a peck of kopecks.
Please give it back to me. It's quite rare and worth millions.
There's another item that sells real well in Shanghai that perhaps you're familiar with.
What's that?
Chinese molasses.
Chinese?
Molasses. Yanqi, Apanyan, Wenxi, chop suey, Auntie-M, Buddha's tobacco.
Are you referring to opium? I hadn't noticed.
You never noticed signs hung up in shop windows that said, "Best opium from Hunan"? Like they was selling candy?
I'm a busy person, Mr. Flanagan. I do not notice every single thing that goes on around me.
Were you too busy to find out your father cut you out of his will, leaving everything to Luella? Oops! Did I say something to upset you?
It was quite an odd thing about that will. My father confided in me that he was changing it, naming me sole beneficiary. And 2 weeks before his demise, he said it was sent over to our lawyers, Dewey Cheatham and Howe, for notarization.
What was that crash I heard?
It seems I've suddenly acquired a bad case of butterfingers. One of the Chinese artifacts slipped out of my hands.
Well, I suppose you can't hold on to everything in life.
No, Luella, but some of us try. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Do me a favor. Don't leave town for a couple of days.
Surely you can't believe that I, who was half a world away, could have anything to do with the murder? Suspecting the only offspring who was cut from the deceased's will is as cliched as believing that the butler did it. Ta-ta.
How would you say Van Rich got along with his son?
Simoleons was a very detached man. His stockholders were the closest people to him. He was disappointed that Richie wasn't a carbon copy of himself. Richie made two fatal mistakes. One, he wasn't the shrewd businessman his father was.
And the other?
That his father was Simoleons Van Rich. Simoleons told me he planned to cut Richie from the will because inherited wealth weakens the inheritors.
But if I was gonna nail the creep who croaked her husband, I had to keep my Johnson out of it. Give me a bourbon on the rocks.
Mr. Flanagan?
Yeah?
I'm Jeffrey Arbogast, the Got It All Club's manager. Mrs. Van Rich called and asked that I be of service to you.
So you're the guy who handles this joint?
If you mean do I oversee the club and ensure its smooth operation, then yes, I handle the joint.
I understand you were working the night Van Rich was murdered.
Our prestigious Man Award is a yearly highlighted ceremony. I'm always on hand to make sure nothing goes wrong.
It didn't go well on the 18th, though, didn't it? Can you remember anything unusual that particular night?
Not really. The guests were comfortably chatting with one another in the Moneybags room when I announced dinner was about to be served in the greenback.
What time was this?
7:15.
Did you notice anyone strange hanging around the punch bowl after everybody left?
No. I know all the members of the club.
What about the guests?
I was acquainted with everyone in one way or another who came that evening.
To the best of your personal recollection, tell me what you remember about the events surrounding Van Rich's death.
I was in the kitchen sampling the vichyssoise when I heard an awful ruckus coming from the hallway. The kitchen has a door leading into the hall, as do the Moneybags room and the dining area. I hurried from the kitchen and saw Mrs. Zenovich, the cleaning lady, running across the hall from the greenback into the Moneybags with people following her. I immediately went to see what the disturbance was, and that's when we all saw a drowned Mr. Van Rich.
How was he positioned?
It was rather odd. He was bent over with his head in the punch bowl, profile, with a strawberry sticking out of his mouth.
How would you account for the fact that Van Rich was still in an upright position with his head in the punch bowl without falling over?
Possibly he had too much starch in his shorts, or maybe he had entered the room just after the murder had taken place. Katrina Zenovich, the cleaning lady.
She found him first, you say?
Yes, when she went to clean the Moneybags room.
She around now?
Why?
I want to question her.
I'm not sure if she's working today, but I'll check.
For a guy as sharp as a tack, it seems kind of odd you not knowing the work schedule of one of your employees. Any other employees say Van Rich that day?
He had a golf lesson at afternoon with our club instructor, Maisie Malloy.
Is she around?
Yes.
Get her for me, will you?
Certainly.
You're listening to the Punch Bowl Bump Off scripted podcast, soon to be released.
I understand on the night of Van Rich's murder, you and your wife shared a limousine with him and his missus.
That's correct. The Van Riches live only a few acres away from us. We picked them up in our private car around 6:45.
What was the drive conversation?
None.
None? Was the heap so big nobody could hear each other?
The Van Riches had had a terrible row just before entering our car. I could hear them as they walked toward us.
You know what it was about?
No. They stopped talking when they got in. It was quite frosty the entire trip.
And how long was that?
About 15 minutes.
So what happened when you got here?
We each went our separate ways, milling about.
Where were you when the murder occurred?
I was in the men's room at 7:30.
You always know what time it is when you go to the bathroom?
Well, no, of course not.
You're listening to the Punch Bowl Bump Off scripted podcast, soon to be released.
Oh, hi, folks. If you want to, you can unmute yourselves. I'm going to unmute if you have any comments. And just want to say thanks to everybody in the cast. And yeah, a big round of applause. Dan and Gilda.
Alex Paul as Slats Flanagan, Frankie Varoka as Richie Van Rich, Laurel Lockhart as Luella Van Rich, Bill Koch as Robert Rittenhouse, Jane Strauss as Katrina Zenovich, Luella Van Rich's murderous alter ego, Robin Racine as Jeffrey Arbagosh, Johnny Barnes as Al Fresco, Bill Galarno as Harrison the Butler, Cynthia Lopez as Maisie Malloy, and Carla Torgrensen as Lum Chin. Peter Yaron composed and performed Slats' theme, and Mark York composed and performed I'm Wise to You. I'm your host, Barbara Ann Davison, hoping that your punch bowl has nothing but punch in it. Abyssinia.
Thank you, Hometown Media Awards. Thank you, Manhattan Neighborhood Network.